How's it going, everyone? In today's video I just wanted to give you an update on my 2-year Miscanthus fence. So the last time I made a video was November 11th 2024, and today's date is August 12th 2025, and like I said before, it's year 2 of my Giant Miscanthus fence. So if many of you have already seen my other video for the first year, you can already tell that the center section where the tree was affecting and the rhizomes weren't really taking off as well. That's now filled in a lot better this year. They're still shorter, but overall it's filled in and done much better than I had expected this year to do. And that goes for everything, for that matter. You can see, if you compare both videos to this one, year 2 is substantially taller and substantially filled in. You guys might be curious, my tallest plant is going to be somewhere in here. I just measured it. It's measuring at 13 feet. Another thing you guys might be wondering is, did I have to purchase more rhizomes to fill in the spots that hadn't grown from the first year? And the answer to that question is yes. I had to purchase approximately, I think it was 100 rhizomes, and I had filled in all the spots that hadn't grown from the first year. So I'll just show you a few. Now here's one. You can see it's pretty short, pretty small, and the reason for that is obviously it's its first year, and then it has to compete with all of that, so it's blocking out most of the sun. But the ones that have taken off haven't killed the small ones, at least not yet. We'll see next year, but they are coming up. So there's 2 there, there's 2 there, and there's 2 more over there and 2 more right there. So they are growing. Another question you guys might have is, did I cut them down this past winter, late winter? And I did. I'll show you guys the tool that I used to cut all this down. And the reason why I decided to cut it down was the Giant Miscanthus does better if you cut it down in the first year or two, by coming up in the springtime. So I cut everything down with a still 4-blade, and I'll show you guys that later. I did not apply any 2,4-D until the springtime, and I have not applied any 2,4-D other than that. Like last year, I did take my grass clippings and collect them, and then in the springtime and occasionally throughout the summer I would lay the grass down, you can see here, just to kind of keep the weeds down. And it's done a really good job at doing that. There's like, I don't even think there's any weeds inside here. It's just Miscanthus. Now obviously on the edges, if you don't want to get too close with the weed whacker and potentially cut down some of your Miscanthus, which I have done, you will have grass that wants to grow through, but that little bit of grass doesn't compete with the Miscanthus at all. So I'm going to pan down and show you guys how well of a straight line the weed whacking does and the mowing does. You can see, you know, maybe just that one there that you kind of got to weed whack around or mow around, but for the most part it's a pretty straight line all the way down. And the mowing consistently and the weed whacking will kind of keep that line straight as long as you maintain it pretty well. So what I'm going to do is just kind of walk this fence line and show you guys how well it filled in. So you can see here where that tree is affecting the growth of these, and then it kind of comes back up and it just dips right there. Obviously when the Miscanthus gets taller, you can start to see through the bottom section a little more. For instance, there's a house back there that you can see, and there's a barn in the back with a green roof. You can see it, but when it first starts coming up after the spring and it's got all the green tops and it's a little bit shorter, you can't see through here at all. So if you wanted a completely filled in fence, what I would recommend is probably doing 6 rows. So mine is 3 rows deep. Just plant another 3 on top of that, make it 6, and I guarantee you after year 2 or year 3 you probably won't be able to see through any part of this, top or bottom. So I'm gonna turn around and pan so that you guys can see the whole fence. So it beats paying thousands of dollars for a fence. I think it's turned out pretty well. Now, if you watched my first video, you saw that I had planted this week 1. There was another small row, I think was week 2, and then the last was week 3. Or vice versa. It may have been week 1, week 2, and then the little one, week 3. But nonetheless, I'm getting a new septic put in this year, and the little spot that I was using to kind of to cover the pooling water that I had with my septic that the leach field's going bad on, that Miscanthus came up fine, but since I'm getting a new septic put in this summer, the issue is they're going to be ripping up all of this and then coming through and taking out the Miscanthus that was growing right there in that little spot. So what I did is I transplanted it, and the issue with transplanting Miscanthus in the summertime is you stress out the plant, you stress the root system on the Miscanthus, and you can see that I had transplanted the entire bundle of Miscanthus right here and right here, and it's turned brown. You know, whether or not it survives or not, I don't really mind. It was better for me to transplant it and risk its survival than to have a bulldozer, you know, come through and rip it all up and it goes to no good. So just know you should be transplanting them in the winter time or the early spring, just so that there's a better chance of not stressing out the root system and potentially killing it. So I'm going to come to the back here and I'll show you guys that. So you guys can see by laying down all my grass clippings how it's kept the weeds out. There's like no weeds inside here. And the back fence is done just as well as the front up there. And I did put some transplants back here as well on the end. I'll show you those. And I did plant some new ones this year because I had some spots to fill in. But obviously they're competing with the tall stuff. So there's one of them. There's one there. There's one back there. Here. The bunnies are eating at this one. And then there's 2 more back there, just small ones. So I hope, I mean, they're doing well and thriving this year, and I hope that next year they'll be doing just as well as year 2. I can't imagine they wouldn't, but they are competing with all this tall stuff on getting the same amount of sunlight which is why I think they're staying so small. You can just see how many more come up on year 2. I mean, this Giant Miscanthus does some crazy stuff. It performs way better than I would have ever expected. Now this is an example of how they don't perform when they're close to a tree. It may also be the soil is a contributing factor to why this edge here doesn't really perform as well. But you can see some of these may have been my part of the 100 that I had planted this coming spring. I can't tell you for sure, but if it was year 2, I would say it's got something to do with this tree or the soil, because they're staying pretty short. This is one of the transplants, and you can see it's starting to dry out. So hopefully it doesn't die, but it was worth the transplant rather than having it bulldozed over. So you can see this one maintains a pretty good line as well. I weed whack it about every 2 weeks. So I'm gonna take you guys over to my garage, and I'll show you the still cutter that I use in the late winter to cut this down for like the first year 2 or 3. Really all is dependent on you guys. I think what I'm gonna do is cut it down for the first 2 years, and then I'm gonna see what it does on the 3rd year. So I'll show you that soon. So as I said before, I have a still weed whacker, and all I had to do is purchase the blade and a installation kit to be able to swap out the weed whacking head. So I just simply have to put a screwdriver in the end here, and then this just spins off. And then here's the kit. So I purchased the 4-blade, I think it's called on Still's website, 4-tooth grass blade. And the nice thing about this is there are 4 cutting edges on one side, and then if, let's say, this gets dull, you can simply flip the blade over, and then you can see there's still paint on this edge because I haven't used it yet. But you can just flip it over, and then you'll have a whole nother set of sharp blades ready to go. It should come with a guard and an installation kit as well. I've got the tool for installing it in there. Now in the late winter, when you go to cut it down, you've got really 2 options. You can cut it down and lay it over in the yard. So I cut it down, and I tried to get it all to kind of lay this way so it wasn't in my neighbor's yard. And then I just simply took the lawnmower, and I took like six or so passes over the Miscanthus, and it cut it all down really fine. And as far as aesthetics go, there was obviously quite a bit of stalks that were left over in the grass that the lawnmower wasn't able to kind of pick up and chop up. So if you're worried about aesthetics, you can chop it up with the mower and then go through and pick up the remainder of stalks. But you can also, I haven't tried it yet, you can chop the stalks down, and then you can purchase a wood chipper. So I have not tried it. I might try it this year, but obviously it's going to take a lot more work than just driving over it with a lawnmower. But you should be able to chop the stalks down and then run it into the hopper, and it should just chop up everything real nice, and that should leave for a more aesthetically pleasing yard, rather than leaving the stalks to kind of deteriorate for the first 3 weeks or so of spring. But that's what I did, and I just walked through the yard. You know, there's no stalks. I would say maybe 5 or 6 weeks into spring's first mowing, all the stalks were gone, so I wasn't too concerned about it. So stay tuned for late winter, and I'll try and make a video of chopping everything down. Just a forewarning, Giant Miscanthus is not for you if you don't like manual labor, because in the late winter it's taxing and it's annoying, and when I go to chop it down in the at least this last late winter, it took a solid day to chop everything down, and luckily late winter it's pretty cold here in Ohio, so that back-breaking work, you know, you're at least staying pretty cool while you're chopping everything down and knocking it out. But there is a reward at the end of it all, and that is a nice natural fence. So stay tuned for that video.